afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank you all for coming today. My name is Kavan Bridges. I am the IT specialist with OOG, the Office of Open Government. Today, this time, my class will be on how to compose and upload videos to Open-dc.gov. And that is our main website that we use. Okay. So this is a 4-step process, and the process is listed below. We're going to be reviewing them in order just for ease of use and how the process will actually occur. So the first step is WebEx. WebEx is an application that many of us are familiar with. It's actually what we're all using right now. Second step is Photos. Photos is an application that generally comes standard on most operating systems, Windows operating systems, let's say, 2008 and higher. The third step is YouTube, which is a website. And the fourth step is our actual website, Open-dc.gov. We'll go over them more one by one, just to kind of ease you through the process. Right? So, as I already said, WebEx is an application that is based upon hosting and recording meetings or events online. It's very similar to other applications that can do this, like Zoom and Skype and Discord, but most organizations I know of so far are either using WebEx and Teams, so we're just going to be doing it through WebEx, right? For those of you who don't already know, dcnet.webex.com is a portal for agencies to sign in and create meetings if you have an account. Okay. So when you sign in to the WebEx portal, it does have many different features that you can use to look at data for any meetings or events that you host or partake in. For simplicity and the sake of time, I'm just going to be covering the two most important portions, and those are the meetings and the recordings. If you can see my arrow, it's kind of moving in circles right now. Just kind of motion over that section. So this is the meetings button. You can click here and it will take you to the meetings section, or the recordings button, which is here. Right. So the first button, meetings button, will take you to a section that kind of looks a little layered like this at the top, right? Meeting section will, if you're tasked with making meetings for your company, whether it's, like a employee meeting or a board meeting, whatever it may be, this button right here, you'll see when you click on this section, schedule a meeting, right? You'll want to use that to create the meetings themselves, right? And there's a process. But aside from this button, something very important to note is that there are two possible things you can create, and that is a meeting or an event. From my personal use, I've discovered that if you're creating meetings, generally it will only allow you to add viewers. If you create an event, the event will allow you to have panelists, and panelists are kind of like, I would say, help in most instances. Panelists can work with you or, take over a presentation for you if needed. You can mute and unmute themselves. So it just gives them an option, of being more present in the presentation, if that makes sense. Right. So the next button we're going to talk about is the recordings button. And the recording section has pretty much everything you need to know about anything that was created by you, whether it's a meeting or an event. Generally, recording is auto set to be on. So whenever you host an event, it will start recording it for you, right? When that meeting ends, all of the information like the transcript and the chat, all of that is saved in this section, WebEx Recordings section, right? And it'll tell you, the day, the time, how large the recording may have been, different things like that. The only button that I think is very important in this section, which I'll show you on the next slide, is it looks like a little down arrow and it has an underline. So for this process, seeing that button is very important because you'll want to download the recordings to be able to upload them to our site, right? If you don't generally see this button, which I'll go over to now, it is right here in this orange little circle. If you don't see this, or if it's not, dark, you can't click on it, it's most likely because the video hasn't finished downloading yet. So sometimes it could take a little while, depending on how large the file is. But this is just for, the sake of you seeing it. And then this is what, like, if you have any meetings within your account, this is what you would see, right? Of course, I kind of like blinked out right here the name of one of our meetings, just so, just for security purposes. But ideally, the name of it would be here, and then the date and time, how long it is, the size, the format, and the button, right? But this is the only thing you really need to notice or focus on for this section, right? So from that part, once you have actually downloaded the meeting recording, the next step that we want to focus on is photos, right? And photos, as I said before, is an application that generally comes standard or free with most Windows operating systems. So, when you hear me say photos, you probably think, oh, why photos? That's generally just where you say photos if you need to. Yes, it's ideal for that situation. It helps, save a lot of videos and photos that you may not want to keep on your personal devices. But a lot of people don't also know that this application can be used for video editing, right? Now, I will say this is an optional step, right? For me, for example, when we have board meetings, sometimes there's, maybe a little bit of time in the beginning or in the middle or in the end where it's not necessarily a portion of the actual meeting. Like it may be people will still coming in, like no one's talking, or it hasn't actually started yet. So a lot of the times when I download our board meetings, I want to, make sure everything that's supposed to be in there is in there, and everything that's not needed is taken out. So that's where photos can come in. It can really help with taking out, portions that aren't especially needed within the video. Now, if your video, after you download your video off of WebEx, if it's already set to go and there's nothing that needs to be changed, this step isn't necessary. And then you would want to move directly to YouTube. But for the sake of, the actual process, I will be showing you what you would do within photos. So if you're using photos, when you open it, you'll see 3 black dots. It's generally in the top right. This adds more options for you to use within photos, right? So generally it will show you your collections and albums, whatever you may have on your computer, that's photos and videos. But in order to actually use this, you need to click on this button here. It'll open this drop-down box that you see right here, my cursor. You want to hit new video, and then you'll go to a new video project. This will open a section that will allow you to start editing the video, so to say. So once you click on that, you'll be taken to a page that looks very similar to this right here. Hovering over this photo area. It'll ask you to put in a name for the video. So what I generally do is, since I am uploading for board meetings, I will put the name of the board meeting here. But I'll do like 0.2 or 0.3 if it's an edited version of the video, so to say. Just so that way, you won't get confused. when saving it. Okay? So you have the choice of putting the video name in here now, or you can skip it and come back to it later. This little icon right here, this little pencil, will allow you to change, the name whenever it's convenient for you. So that's that. In order to add content in this section, which this is very important to know, you have to use the project library. The project library, is going to be in the top left of the application, first and foremost, right? Anything that you add within this section will then become usable to actually put within the video editing, right? So if you have extra photos or, like titles or slideshows that you may want to put in aside from the actual video recording, this is where you would add in the project library. Because if it's not added in here, you won't be able to use it at all. And that also includes the recording. So when you save your download from WebEx, we'll make sure you put it someplace it is. Like you can save it on the desktop or in your documents, somewhere you can find it easily. Because when you hit this add button, it's going to open your file browser. Within your file browser, you're going to have to locate video recording. When you locate the recording, it'll show up here, just like this little box right here that I have. Right? Okay. So once you have all the content that you're going to be using with this video, you can essentially drag and drop, kind of like, I can't click right now, but you could click this icon, right? This is the board meeting video. You would click this and drag it down to these little rectangular boxes down here. Right? It's kind of hard to see because it's mostly all white, but any of those boxes or all of those boxes, those are essentially what is going to be in play with your new video that you're creating, this edited video, so to say. The reason why it's here twice is just so you can kind of see what they look like, right? So let's say you have a picture that just shows like, oh, this is the board meeting, or it's something to ease you into the presentation. Right? You could put that in this first box here, and then you could put the actual recording in this second box here. Because whatever order you put it in down here is the order it will appear in your new video. So you always want to make sure you put it however you want it to be seen, right? Now, okay, actually, there are a lot of different, tools that you can use within this, which is why this is the video editing portion. There's trim, split, add text, any motions or 3D effects you may want. A lot of this is very useful when trying to create your, create or edit the videos. But they're pretty straightforward in terms of what they actually do. So I won't be going more into depth about them, but this is ideally just to show you, kind of how the project library looks for the video editing. Once you've essentially finished adding or editing, trimming, taking whatever out of the video you may not need, there's a button in the top right that you'll see called Finish Video. So once you click this button, it'll bring up this little box here. It's a small window asking you what video quality, you want the video to be in. I always generally just keep it on high 1080p, the recommended. Anything lower, if for some reason it's coming out too blurry or you can't see anything, that's probably why, because quality may be lower. And you want to keep it as high as possible. So once you find this and you pick your video quality, you'll want to hit export. And when you hit export, it's going to bring up another box, your Windows box or your Windows file box. In this box, you will want to save the video under a different name. This, remember, is only if you're editing the video. If you don't have to edit the video, then there's no need to save it under a different name. The only reason I save it under a different name is to remember what the original copy of the video is and the new copy. That way you're not confused when you're actually uploading it to YouTube. So now that you have the edited version of your video or the unedited, whatever you're going in with, you're going to want to use YouTube. YouTube is a simple and free platform that allows you to create videos and share them with the world, essentially, right? As far as I know, you will need an account to be able to access YouTube Studios. And YouTube Studios is the section that allows you to upload your videos to YouTube itself. So when you create an account and sign in, the important thing to note is just the icons that would show up in the top right of your browser. Right? This one right here that I'm kind of circling with my mouse is the important one. When you click on this, it will show you these two options, go live or upload video. For the sake, of course, we want to use the upload video button, and that will take us to the YouTube Studio section. When you click on that button, it's going to take you to a site or a new page that looks just like this, right? You'll see upload videos, and you'll be given this option here. You can either drag and drop the videos to upload them, or you can select files. If you hit select files, it's just going to open, your file browser, so you can search for those videos. Unlike if you have it on your desktop or somewhere you can easily drag it into this box, that might be an easier option. So whatever you feel more comfortable with, you can do one or the other. But once you do drag and drop it or select it, it will start uploading it to YouTube. And you're going to see a new page with different options, right? It's going to look similar to this right here. So as the video is processing and uploading to YouTube, you'll want to add anything else that's necessary for it. So name, so the board meeting name, right? Or whatever the video is for. You want to put the name in there. You can add a description, tell your viewers what the video is about, different things like that. Right. So what's important to note here, there is a lot that goes into this, but it's pretty straightforward, and they'll tell you what each little section is about. So generally you'll want to scroll down and look through it all before hitting next, but it's going to have you do this 4 times. Right now, if you can see where my cursor is, right, this is the actual process that you're going through. Details, video elements, checks, visibility, right? So every time you hit next, it's going to take you to the next dot, so to say. So after you go through those, what's very important in the last section here, visibility section, this one, is that you list the video as public, right? Because when you originally add it and it starts to publish or upload to YouTube, it's going to be kept private until you change this option, right? So you'll know that it's changed by clicking. It'll be filled right here. So this little white dot here versus just the black dots here. That's how you know you actually have it on public. Right? So you want to make sure you always do that, because if not, what's the point of having it on there? I guess if it's an older video and you don't want many people to see it, you could switch it to private. But, for the sake of this course and what we're trying to do, you want to make sure you put it on public, right? Now, before you actually hit publish, another thing to take note of is the video link here. I have it in this little gray or orange box. Sorry, forgive me. right here. So this video link is very, very important. It's going to be what you're going to use on our site, Open-dc.gov, to actually link this video to the site so that you can access it there. Okay. So whenever you create the video, always make sure you save the video link somewhere or write it down because you're going to need it. But essentially at this point, once you hit publish, if it hasn't already finished uploading, it may take some time, depending on how big it is, of course, still. But once it is finished, we'll be moving on to the next step. So the last and final step of this process is Open-dc.gov, right? For those of you who don't know, our site is generally what we use to post information for different meetings and organizations, so they can have a place for the public to view and actually access that information. So in order for you to actually be able to do anything within our site, you have to have a login, right? So in order to create anything, you'll need to contact me. At the end of the slides, I'll have my information available for anyone who is, going to be a point of contact and may need to actually do this process. So just be a little bit more patient. And once we get to the end, I'll answer any questions that anyone may have so far. And, my email will be up there so you guys can contact me if you need an account or anything like that. Okay. So if you do have an account already, if you're watching this, of course, you're going to want to go to this browser right here, www.opendc.gov/user. When you enter this into your web browser, it's going to take you to a page that looks like this. Right? You want to sign in using your given username and whatever password you have, okay? And then log in. Once you do that, so there is a lot, well, it's not too much, but there's a good amount that goes into creating meetings within our site. We do have a step-by-step guide for this process. So if you're interested in learning about creating the meetings themselves, I can definitely send you that, the document for it. But it can take a little while. So for the sake of time, I won't be explaining how those meetings are actually created. But ideally, the meetings will always be something that's created before even uploading the video to the site, as anyone from the public needs to be able to access this information and, see when it's actually going to happen. So it's important to have it up so that people can actually see it, if that makes sense. And then once, the meeting actually occurs, then you're just adding on more onto the meeting. So that they can access it that way if they weren't able to participate when it occurred. Okay. So let's go here. Okay. So ideally, this is generally what a board's page would look like. A board or agency, whatever your organization may be. This is ours, right? So you'll see enabling statute, acronym if we have one, the point of contact, phone number, email, right? And then you'll have a calendar down below. So this calendar can obviously go back in months, forward to the future, whatever you may need. But ideally, you use this to create your meetings for your company or your organization, right? This is just an example of one right here that I've circled. So ideally, you could go in here after creating it and click on it, and it will show you all the details of this board meeting, so to say. Okay. So after you click on that and you're taken to the page that shows everything for that you can see right here, after I clicked on it, now you can see it says Vegas October board meeting, right? As a user, you'll have limited accessibility to what you can do. But one of those things is editing it as a point of contact. So you'll want to hit this button you'll see called edit, and it will take you to the page showing you the info for the post. So this is a portion of what that page would look like. This is the description section, right? So in this section, anything that you write in this description box will be what appears on the actual meeting, so to say. So when you click on it, this isn't what you would see at first. You would see all this information. So after clicking on the meeting, you would see this first. The board's monthly meeting will be held electronically at 12 p.m. The board may exercise discretion, and etc. Right? You would see that first. But once you hit the edit button, then you'll see what I'm showing you right now. Okay. But what's important to know in this section is what's highlighted here in orange, circled. So this is what we call a hyperlink button. All right. So at this point, you're probably thinking how the video link is important and why it's important. This is the final step, and this is why. In order for your videos to actually somewhat appear on our site, they'll need to be hyperlinked to your posts, your meeting posts, and that's how it's accessible. Right? So that's why I have this circled here. Right? Anytime that you're adding a hyperlink, it's going to be a part of a word or a phrase or anything that you may want it to be. You could technically just put the link in the box, just paste it in here. But if you want it to be a little, look a little nicer, then you would do something like that, right? So I've highlighted the word here. And then I click on this hyperlink button, right? That means anytime anyone clicks on the word here, it will access whatever hyperlink I'm going to add to this sentence. And that's what we're going to want to do for our videos. So once you actually highlight whatever word or phrase you're using, and then you click on the hyperlink button, you'll see this little box up here, right? Link box. So this is where your actual video link from YouTube is going to be put, right here in this underlined section. Of course, for the sake of it being, actually working, you want to make sure that the link type is set to URL. There's a couple more options in there, but those are mostly for navigating within the site itself. But because we're going out to YouTube, so to say, we have to do URL so that it actually works with it. So once you make sure this is set to URL, and you add the video link for your video from YouTube, you'll hit OK, right? And once you hit OK, it will save the hyperlink and take you back into the post, right? So with the hyperlink added to the post information, you'll want to make sure you save the changes you made. Right? There's a lot that goes into creating meetings, but ideally, we want to scroll past that and then just save it, right? You'll see these two buttons in the bottom left. Never delete, always save. So after you do that, your videos will essentially, due to this whole process, be on our site and available for the public. So that pretty much sums up the entire process. If I went too fast, or if there's anything you may have missed or not catched, I'm always available Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30 p.m. My information is here. This is my email, kavon.burgess@dc.gov. So if you know for certain that you're going to be a point of contact and need access to our site to be able to do this process, please email me whenever you can, and I will assist you in working through the process, as well as creating the actual meetings. But thank you all for participating. I appreciate you coming. And if you have any questions, I am free to answer them now.
Kevon, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, but maybe somebody will have questions in the next minute or so.
Okay, that's good.
No questions in the chat, so whenever you want to wrap up.
All right. Well, thank you all again for coming. I truly appreciate it. If you have any questions about anything, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I will be available. I know it was a lot of information to take in, but hopefully it's very simple. And if for any reason you would like access to the slides that we just went through, you can also email me and I can send you a copy of it as well. We'll most likely put it up on our site for access.
Yep, all the materials will be up on the website sometime next week.
There you have it. All right. Thank you very much. And it's we can sign off now.